Hey guys, Fake Banana here again, and last week we went over what are widely considered the worst add-ons in the game, Iridescent-wise. So this week I figured we'd go over what are considered the best, and by best I mean ones that completely change how a killer is to the point to where they probably need these add-ons nerfed. So we're not going to waste much time with this. I'm going to go over them individually, and I'm not going to go over both add-ons for every killer because there's a lot of different killers in this one, unlike last week. So first up, as many people know, the most OP add-on in the game at the moment, it is widely considered extremely strong and probably needs to be nerfed to an immense degree, is the Mother-Daughter Ring on Spirit. So the Mother-Daughter Ring increases your movement speed during the phase walk by 40%. However, the downside is you don't see scratch marks anymore. That's the only downside. Now, the thing about this downside is it's a little bit bugged, and you can see scratch marks prior to when you started the haunt, and you can also still hear just fine. If your tracking on Spirit is good, and you have a decent enough headset, or hell, just bring Strider or something to make hearing people easier, just max out your volume when you need to, this add-on can make you zoom across the map with very little regard for what the survivors can do about it, right? There is not much that a survivor can do for how much speed this can give you, and that's not even counting if you combine it with other add-ons to make the speed faster as well. Personally, if I was to nerf it, I would make it so maybe your recharge time is even longer when you have it, or make it so the power duration is shorter, or something to that degree. Make it so there's actually a downside to bringing this add-on other than the tracking. Because a good Spirit doesn't need the scratch marks or even blood pools. They can do it purely based on sound. I'm not saying maybe mute the audio, but maybe make it so your audio when you're in it is maybe 50%. Something like that, but even that might not be enough because some Spirits will be able to overshadow that downside. Next, we have the Trickster with his Iridescent photo card. So the Iridescent photo card, when it first came out, was one that people didn't really think was that strong and seemed kind of gimmicky and something you would never get off. Now, I will say if you try to force this add-on, yeah, it can be very gimmicky and can mess you up and lead to not getting as much value out of it. However, in my opinion, this is an add-on that gets the most use when you're not trying to get that much use out of it. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you're very, very close to a full health survivor who isn't injured, and you throw a few blades into them, and then you get the hit, and then they're exposed, and you down them, that just saved you so much time. If you're really far away, yeah, just keep throwing the blades. They're still going to get the injure, and they're still in a bad position. But it basically means that you don't want to go for M1s when you're right up close, and you also don't want to get super close to a survivor if you can help it. But it means that if those situations happen, you have a very, very powerful way to counter it and use that boldness against them. My ways for changing this add-on, honestly, I think this add-on's fine. I don't think it's so powerful that it feels oppressive, because it has some counterplay. Just run away from Trickster, as it always has. And to the same degree, the concept of this add-on can't really be changed too much, as then it just wouldn't do anything. Maybe make it so it's 6 lacerations instead of 4. Well, not 6, I mean 5 instead of 4. Maybe that would help it out. Or maybe make it so your reload is slower. It doesn't really have a downside, like most Iridescent add-ons that do an exposed effect. So I think maybe giving it a downside of some kind. Maybe you're slower when your knives are out by base when you have this out. Who knows? And I still think it's a really, really powerful add-on, and one that often gets overlooked when looking at a lot of the stronger Iridescent add-ons. But on that note, we're going to move on to the next one. Next up is Plague, who has probably 2 of the best Iridescent add-ons in the game. Both of these Iri add-ons make her power extremely, extremely deadly for 2 different reasons. So first we have the Iridescent Seal. Iridescent Seal makes it so that every time a gen is complete, she gets the Corrupt Purge, the red puke, which is nuts. That means she's guaranteed 5 more uses of it. That's not even counting if she still goes to her fountains, which she doesn't even have to. So the usual counterplay of, oh, just do gens while injured and don't cleanse so she can't get her power, doesn't apply to this. The one downside is that you get 20 less seconds on Corrupt Purge. However, that can be mitigated, 1, with an add-on, and 2, because you're getting it so often, those 20 seconds often make up for themselves at the end. But this add-on basically negates a lot of the counterplay that Plague has, especially at the higher levels. and can be extremely, extremely powerful, especially if you run it with something like Tinkerer, so you know when a gen's about to pop and you can start working your way over there, or Discordance to know where a bunch of people are. There's a lot of info perks that can make this add-on extremely, extremely powerful. And the downside is often mitigated by several factors, including how good the Plague is at using her Corrupt Purge. Then we have the Black Incense. The Black Incense, in my opinion, is one of the best tracking add-ons in the entire game. It requires no extra use, no superfluous interaction of any kind. Here's all you gotta do. Infect the survivor. That's it. Infect the survivor, and when they vomit, their auras are revealed to you for 3 seconds. Now this can also be affected by Lethal Pursuer, but 3 seconds. This has no range and no cooldown. Now for those who don't know, the way vomiting works is every 5 seconds, I believe, I need to double check this, but every 5 seconds or so, there is a chance you will vomit. This is basically pure RNG. So that being said, you could get super lucky and then never vomit ever, which is extremely possible, but not likely. So if you can go around completely infecting the survivors, they do have constant aura reading on you. If they don't cleanse, then this add-on gets even more use, and it turns you to an M1 killer with 100% wall hacks at all times. This add-on is a perfect counter, much like the seal, to those who know how to counter Plague from a micro level. There isn't really much they can do, right? They either play completely infected, or you force them to use your fountains, letting you get your Corrupt Purge way more often, which can be a godsend, as a lot of times survivors will never use your fountains or use them in really, really far locations that you can't obtain. But with this, you get the best of both worlds. Even your normal puke is fine as far as giving you some kind of use. Not just injuring survivors, but also giving you constant aura reading across the map. Like I said, this has no cooldown and no range. It's really, really powerful in the right hands and can allow for you to make some pretty cheeky plays and get some pretty nasty M1 hits that survivors aren't expecting. As far as changing this add-on, I honestly don't think it needs to be changed. I think this is one of the better designed add-ons in the game. If there was one change I would do to it, it's maybe let the survivors know you have it, but even then they could run distortion to tell, so I'm not too sure how they could change this add-on without completely nerfing it into the ground. But with that said, on to the next one. Next is a killer we all knew was going to show up in here at some point, and that is the Blight. Blight has 2 of the most powerful Iridescent add-ons in the game. He has some of the most powerful general add-ons in the game. The first we're going to talk about the Tag. Tag makes it so when you use all of your rushes, your next hit will instantly down the survivor. This add-on is really, really game-changing. If you know what you're doing, it can force all 5 of your rushes before you get the hit and are decently strong with Blight and know what you're doing, this add-on can change the entire course of the game. If you combine this with Alchemist Ring, you can basically get back-to-back exposed hits on survivors, and it's really, really, really nuts. The only caveat to this, and why I wouldn't say it's that strong and needs a nerf, is mostly because the requirement to use it requires you to get a lot of skill with Blight. Now, that being said, his next one, Compound 33, does not have that downside. Any survivors within 16 meters of your slam are hindered for 3 seconds. They move 3% slower, and slamming into pallets and breakable walls immediately destroys them with a cooldown of 1.5 seconds. So, why is this so strong? If a survivor waits at a pallet right as it drops, they're slowed and you instantly break the pallet, and the cooldown fatigue of you hitting that pallet is actually reduced slightly, and you basically instantly get your dashes back. It's very, very powerful. This add-on alone is one of the major reasons Blight is as strong as he is. Not just his power, which don't get me wrong, his power is still also extremely good, but this add-on makes one of the few counterplays against Blight, which is pallets, which is a counterplay for most killers, almost irrelevant. It makes it so he can shred through pallets better than Bubba can, or Nemesis, or even Wesker with one of his area add-ons. It's really, 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 really powerful. Ways to nerf this add-on? I think maybe just to have it increase the cooldown rate of his rushes, and I think it would be fine. Just get rid of the cooldown penalty or the cooldown increase, honestly. Like, it shouldn't affect his cooldowns at all. It's really all I would do to it to make it better. I think the idea is sound, and hell, honestly, just making it hinder the survivors for more, but making it so it couldn't destroy pallets, I think would also be okay. Make it hinder the survivors by 12% if you're within 60 meters of a slam. It makes those guaranteed hits even easier to hit, I suppose. That makes it so he still has pallets as his counterplay option. I think that would be the best way to go about it. But on to the next killer. Next is Wraith, which is a killer you probably didn't expect to see too much in a video like this. But the one add-on he does have that makes him very, very powerful is the Coxcombed Clapper. I probably mispronounced the hell out of that, but basically it's the clapper. What does this do? It's very, very simple. It makes it so his bell has no noise. So when he cloaks and uncloaks, the survivors don't hear anything. This is extremely, extremely powerful. A lot of Wraith's counterplay comes from the fact that the survivors get notifications on what he's doing based on sound. Whether it's his gargling, him coming in and out of his stealth, etc., etc. But with this, they don't get any of those notifications. Their only real counterplay is to just constantly look around. And this can let Wraith attack them from many positions they're not expecting, and can be, like I said, very, very powerful. For changes to this add-on, I really don't think there needs to be any. I think this add-on is perfectly fine for an Iridescent. It doesn't give him any immense power, but it changes his gameplay up in a way that survivors have to adapt to. Next up, we have the Iridescent Head, or the Iridescent Hatchet, as many people like to call it, from the Huntress. You know what this add-on does. If you play DBD for more than 10 minutes, you know what this add-on is. If the Huntress hits you with a hatchet, you instantly go down. The one downside is she is limited to one hatchet at all times. She can't increase this amount, she can't decrease this amount, other than by throwing her hatchet. This add-on, in my opinion, is one of the worst designed add-ons in the game. The idea is sound, however, I have one change to this add-on that I think would make it decently okay. Rather than just make it so the hatchet instantly downs, make it so if the survivor is within a certain distance away from you, it instantly downs. That's really the only change I would do to it. Even then, maybe if they do that, maybe they can make it so it's not just one hatchet. Maybe she can actually bring more. Maybe it lowers her down to one, but like the old times, she can equip an infantry belt and make it 3. But just make it so it's distance-based. Similar to Deathslinger's Iridescent add-on, where he gets exposed if they're shot from 12 meters away. Maybe make it 15 meters, maybe make it 30 meters, maybe make it just right at the edge of her terror radius. It wouldn't be as consistent, sure, but it also wouldn't be extremely oppressive. And I feel like that is the key to making this add-on healthier for the game. But we only have one more Iridescent add-on to go over, and we're going to do that right now. Alright, last add-on of the bunch for our newest killer, Wesker, the Mastermind. Wesker has one of the best Iridescent add-ons in the game, simply because it slows the game down at the start. And that is something that not a lot of add-ons can do. There's one other exception to this, and that's Pig, but even her Bear Trap add-on isn't that powerful anymore because of reasons. So, the Ouroboros Vial. Survivors start the trial infected. That right there alone is all this add-on needed to do. That's all it needed to do. That's it. If it just did that, it would have been great. That means the survivors are already infected, which means they waste more first aid sprays, which means they aren't on gens as long, which means that they might get the hinder status effect sooner than they normally would. It's just a great add-on for that alone. But then it has a second part that many people forget about, but it has gotten me a few kills, I'm not gonna lie. Survivors suffer from exposed status effect for 30 seconds when they become fully infected. Once they hit their fully infected mark, they get exposed for 30 seconds. That's crazy. It won't happen often, but when it does, and you can play around it, if you can time out how long it's going to take for them to get fully infected, or you're in a chase and you see they're fully infected, well, now you're going to stop going for balance. Now you can just go for a normal M1, get the kill right there. On top of that, once they're fully infected, they can't even like run in the straight line or anything like that, because your Vigilant Bound will instantly pick them up too. So they're infected on both fronts for the next 30 seconds. So that is great. Honestly, I think the only real way to change this add-on is maybe make it so there's more spray cans when you bring this add-on, but I don't know if that's completely possible. But that's really it. I think it's a perfectly fine add-on design-wise, but I think it's really, really powerful. And considering it's only our newest killer, Wesker, I think it really, really helped him get somewhere to the top. And it has great synergies with a lot of other add-ons. The ones that give you aura readings, the ones that give you Oblivious when they use the first aid spray, the passive infection rates. It has so many synergies with a lot of other great add-ons. And I think Wesker's add-ons in general are really, really powerful. However, we're going to be going over that next week when I start going over other killers' add-ons, because I think it's something that needs to be updated throughout the community, and it might give us a chance to look at some add-ons that are either underlooked or overlooked and see if there's anything we can do to maybe fix them. But we'll see how that goes out. As always, everyone, thank you for watching. The last video actually did really well, and that's mostly why I decided to do this one. Like I said, starting next week, we're probably going to be doing add-on reviews for every killer in the game, so going over every single one of their add-ons, talking about changes I would make, or maybe giving you some ideas on add-ons that you might not think about using, but have, even at the least, niche uses that can be very powerful in certain situations. As always, I'm live on Twitch every weekend if you want to come hang out there. I have a Discord and I have a Twitter. I try to post here as much as I can. I have a lot going on, so I don't really have the time to post here as much as I would like. But if you want to catch me live every weekend on Twitch, I mostly play killer. I do killer request builds, as you can see above. As you can see in the background footage, I just kind of play to play. But thank you everyone for the support. And if you want to support me more, subscription is always nice. And following me on Twitch or checking me out on Twitter, coming to hang out in the Discord, all of these things help me so much. Even just dropping a like, it takes 5 seconds, if that, and it really helps. But in any case, I'll see you guys next week, and have a good one. Bye.